I realize as an artist you can get away with a lot of crap. And people look at you and they say, oh yeah, sir, you're making art, I understand. And they let you do stuff. And so I work with the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, LMCC. I work down there, help them with their spaces. I'm kind of like a janitor and whatever. Tell people not to smoke. And I had a gigantic floor, 1 block floor to myself. And I took it and I used it to play a gigantic zombie live-action role-playing game where people were lurching about in the dark, half of them pretending to be zombies, half of them pretending not to be zombies, and doing the things you might expect. It uses a rule system, this really exciting, weird, simple tag system, and it was fun. And it doesn't photograph well because it's dark and there's flashlights, and seriously, this is the best image I can do. But to be an artist and to say, hey look, I'm an artist, I can do stuff, I have access to spaces, I can do things and have guys in suits think it's okay because I'm an artist, even if I'm really only doing it for other reasons, only for doing it because I'm this chubby gamer guy with a beard, who people see as a chubby art guy with a beard. You know, it's crafty. That's the helicopter simulator for the end of the zombie game, which in the dark, you see speakers, you see the big blower fan. I had a super powerful tight beam flashlight, and I simulated a helicopter. And I see people in this room who did or did not get into the helicopter, who were playing the game.
I second choice also.
Well done. Again, taking game spaces, and taking public spaces, art spaces, and shanghaiing them into game spaces. And not saying, hey, everybody in the art world, look at these dopey gamers. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying, hey gamers, look, here's a space you can play in. There's a difference there. And if you're in New York, you might understand it. In New York, there's this fucked up culture of people who play games in cafes. All right? In public spaces, they go and they play at D&D in the public because they don't have basements. They don't have the suburban stuff, which makes which defines the physical space which a game happens in. This is called All the President's Zombies. It's a scenario written by a guy. Oh, I can point. That guy there isn't the writer. He's the guy that produced the book. The scenario was called The Book of LARP. And I made this beautiful space for them to play in at the UBS Bank, which is weird. And brought that guy up, let him run a game, and people were able to come and play the scenario. Making space, I'd like to put that in a minute. For a while, and this is a danger, right? This is where I'm saying this is where you have to be careful. I was driving in demolition derbies, and this was a long time ago, 1998, and it was fun. And slowly, people started saying, but Tim, you're an artist driving in demolition derbies. What does that mean? And then it became unfun. And so the next thing you know, a gallery is showing one of my demolition derby cars outside, on the street outside for a month, during a show. And I'm looking at that and saying, oh, that's interesting, but not exactly exciting. All right, to create spaces for gamers to play in. This is a war game table, right? And to make it the war game table that's so big and so great and so perfect that people will come and use it. But because I'm mean, right? It's a space so large that it breaks the game. War games, as a rule, miniature war games, people play with these little pieces, there you go, little houses, little tanks, little whatevers, are generally meant to happen in a 4 by 8 foot space. If you have a dimension that is, let's just go back here really fast. I think the longest dimension was 28 feet long. It breaks because it literally takes, if you're going to march the whole length of the table, it'll take 4 hours. And it always reminds me of this joke, although in telling I realized it didn't really apply, but I'll tell it again just in case it magically works today. There's some kind of joke about every man's fear is a nymphomaniac who owns a bar, because the two things that are so great betray one another. Because if you drink too much, the nymphomaniac part falls apart. And I don't really drink or do any of that kind of stuff, so it doesn't quite work for me, but I've been told that this idea is it's so great, but it betrays itself. All right, so miniatures, everybody likes small things. And because we're artists, I'm showing you this is the proof of concept of how the thing was built. This is a picture of the first version under construction. Todd, that's my friend Todd in the back in a green shirt. And that's my friend Todd in the back in a black shirt. Here's another version I did at the Minneapolis Soap Factory. Soap Factory, thank you. And this is based a little bit more on a real space, but that doesn't matter. Here's another version of it. This is partially the first one reconfigured and rebuilt at the I-20 gallery here in New York. Another I-20 shot, and this one there's little outriders that can slide into slots. And that's just wonderful because there's no one has 8-foot-long arms. So if you slide that into space, it's complete but totally unusable. There's a secret cave. Where's the secret cave? It's so small. Secret cave. This is the worst art show I ever did in St. Louis. Another version of it, the last war game table I'll ever make. Something shown with the war game table. I know what the problem is. I know how that works. Look at that. This is called the Caverns of Ouroboros. It's a kind of early Dungeons and Dragons style map, but there's no entrance. It's just a key dungeon, but there's no way in. There's no stairs, there's no nothing. So whoever's inside the dungeon is happy and safe from the adventurers who in traditional D&D manner would come and kill them and take all their stuff. Sea fights. We're going fast now. Me and another artist made fleets of boats, and those are mine. I had like 14 boats, and then we took a whole gallery floor and made it over into a play space and had our own rules, and it wasn't a very fun game. This doesn't matter. I don't know, what was I thinking? We're going fast. Paintball type fortifications and making them into sculptures, which were built but then destroyed before I could photograph them. For a while, because again, gameplay is incredibly important to me. I was working as an embedded photographer, this is like 2000 now, on paintball fields. So if I was shot, I would leave the field, if that makes sense. And it sounds fucked up, but it's funny, right? But there's an incredible power to people with guns and gun poses in civilian clothing, right? I mean, the guy peering around the corner, the guy peering over the ridge, there's incredible power to that. Working as an embedded artist in first-person shooter games, to say, hey look, I'm playing Return to Castle Wolfenstein, but I'm sitting here and hiding in the corner and drawing, hoping no one sees me. But at the same time, right? Because one of the big things is that as an artist, I'm sneaky and I want to make you feel bad. That's important. Is that I'm drawing things. It's a World War II game, but I'm drawing things like cattle cars and fenced-in enclosures, and suddenly everybody gets quiet and feels uncomfortable, right? Because those things have an incredible potency when you're not thinking, haha, game. I sit and I make guilty drawings in my studio that make me really happy. But then they slowly become other things. I have to do silly drawings that usually become gaming drawings. So this, which I think is artwork, is now suddenly a Settlers of Catan joke. It says 2 sheep for a wheat and 3 ore. And it says no, but maybe for 2 wood, and then no thanks. Right? Settlers of Catan is a board game. They have 12-sided die. Why am I showing you these dumb drawings? These are drawings I make and never show anybody, but they're just gaming oriented. So I'm showing them to you. And then slowly these become better drawings, right? Suddenly out of those dumb drawings, I'm making drawings that I think are really interesting. And I feel embarrassed saying I'm making interesting drawings around Casey, because Casey makes drawings. And I can hear the sneers coming around. These are really tiny, by the way. These are like 3 inches across, I think. So that's part of the reason they look so shoddy.
They look great.
And I make this stuff and I feel funny because I don't know if it's really art or not. And then I'm making these studies, and really these are Dungeon Master's screens. These are the screens the guys hide behind. But don't tell anybody, because that's not really what it can be about, right? Before the Call of Cthulhu campaign, we played a 4-year-long campaign set in a kind of Herman Melville type Moby Dick situation, but with a lot of H.P. Lovecraft worked in. 4 years long that campaign lasted. And we were dealing with terms, nautical terms, right? Because everybody was sailors on a ship, whaling. And so it is like using drawing as a tool to figure out gaming stuff after it happens. I mean, how do raccoons really tie together? I'm an idiot, I don't know.